Okay, thank you everyone. Hello, 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 hello. All right, thanks everyone for coming, joining, and coming to listen to our talk. So we'll discuss about Lighthouse. We have a bunch of the Lighthouse crew here, so if you have any questions, feel free to come and talk to us afterward. We're going to discuss about the metaverse more broadly as well, touch on some concepts that are key to us and some definitions that we have. I see there's other builders in the room as well, so that's great. Many faces I recognize from the Metaverse Summit as well. So let's get started. First piece is defining the metaverse. How do we see the metaverse, what it is? I think there's some confusion around the term. No unified ways of describing it anyway, but the way we kind of see it is an interconnected network of 3D virtual spaces. So interconnected in that you can move between each of them, you can search across each of them. Those are part of a bigger unit. And then you need to have a shared economical layer on top of it, which means you can exchange value, you can store value. And right now, we only have unified version of this, siloed version of this. So a good example that comes to mind, obviously, is Roblox, which is great, but it's a closed ecosystem in that you can't easily move from A to B. You can't easily use your Robux to buy Minecoin, which is the currency in the Minecraft ecosystem. So those are fairly siloed. So in that definition, to us, the metaverse needs to be 3D, needs to be persistent, immersive. It needs to be interconnected as well. If we jump to the next slide, which kind of doubles down on that idea of open and closed, if we take a step back and just try to think about the internet as we define it today, to its core, the internet is really a set of communications protocol. It's HTTP, TCP/IP, FTP, SMTP. Those are all communications protocols that allow data packets to move across different servers. The metaverse, in our perspective, is pretty much the same thing. So interoperability, the capacity of two systems to communicate with one another, is actually not something that's important for the metaverse. It's its only defining factor. It's the idea that all of those ecosystems, all of those worlds become more and more connected together. And it's obviously non-binary, so it's not you're open or you're closed. All of this falls into a spectrum. But if you're trying to assess, if something is open or not, you should think about it in terms of, can I use my assets within this ecosystem? Is there a way for me to fetch data from that specific world? So some of the things we look at Lighthouse is, many worlds kind of brand themselves as being part of the open metaverse. Some things we like to look at is there open source material shared with that world? Does the world has public APIs for people to pull information if they need to? Does the world uses decentralized storage? Can I use my NFT collection inside that world? Those are all clear items that we can look at when trying to define if a world is actually open. So that's just having a critical lens when you look at those worlds and how they brand themselves and what you're actually able to do in those environments. Then the second piece, which is very important, is when we think about the metaverse and we look at the Web3 metaverse specifically, we're still super early, right? We have tens of thousands of people in those worlds, at best hundreds of thousands max, perhaps during peak time. When you turn around and you look at what's happening inside closed environments like Roblox, you have 50 million daily active users, you have lots of people. And so what makes us so confident that the Web3 initiative is actually going to succeed in driving traffic and changing the habits of so many people? This is a hard thing to do. Lots of people love to game. I'm one of them. And what's going to make me transition to this new realm? And why is so much money invested in the space? Why is so much brain power going into the space? Well, I think there's a few core reasons, really first principle thinking that makes us very confident that this will actually happen. And I name a few of them under here. So the first one is credible neutrality. The capacity to come inside an ecosystem and know that you'll be able to do something without censorship, that the ecosystem is actually going to remain neutral, that no single party can make a decision that goes against you, is actually incredibly important. If you were building something inside Horizon that ended up becoming competitive to one of Facebook's other products, there's no guarantee for you that the ecosystem is actually going to remain neutral towards what you're building. And as a builder, that should be pretty top of mind, especially in the world in which we're at, where so many APIs have been closed with people building on Twitter. So many models have been copied with people building stuff related to Amazon. We've seen that, the S-curve paradigm. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But that neutrality is actually very important. Provable persistence. Well, if I'm a creator, a builder, a brand, and I have, 500,000 I want to drop in one experience building an amazing HQ in the metaverse, and bad luck, there's a scandal with a specific firm, it goes bankrupt, and the world is just closed. Well, I've just lost hundreds of thousands of investment. I've lost the community I built around that space. And so that sense of persistence, knowing that that thing is going to last over time, is actually something that blockchain provides that closed ecosystem can't guarantee, which is very important to us if we really want to see that big institutional capital influx in the metaverse. You need that, which I think can only be provided in Web3. And then the last piece is the native ownership and settlement layer, which are both enabled by token and blockchain. I really see a world where when you go in the metaverse, you need to be able to transact, move your capital in and out in an easy way. And so far, blockchain really seems to be the tech that's the better suited for that. Very quickly on that slide, it echoes the ideas I've just shared, but we call this the S-curve paradigm, which is at first, an ecosystem is always going to be fun to you, the user or the developer. So you're going to have developer grants, you're going to have tons of access, you're going to be able to talk to someone in that team very quickly. As a user, the platform won't do anything harmful with your data at first. You're going to be empowered, listened to. But then over time, when that company, which has stakeholders that look for growth and don't have that many new users they can onboard, the only way forward is to extract more and more of the current base. And this is when you start to see behavior that you didn't sign up to in the first place, but the game is kind of rigged. There's no way for the company to continue grow and please its shareholder without extracting more from other stakeholders in the pie. And so this S-curve paradigm, if you've been on planet Earth over the last 15 years, you've lived it with most of the social platform you ever use. So that's kind of important. Now, going back to navigation in the open metaverse. So connecting different worlds become harder the more and more worlds you get. On the Web3 space, if we go back just a few months ago, perhaps 7 to 10 months ago, there were 10, 15 worlds of real importance and magnitude that we felt could attract significant traffic. And at Lighthouse, I'm going to tell a bit more about what we do, but we watched that very closely. And back then, there were 10 to 15 names, perhaps November 2021. And we felt that fragmentation was going to increase. And so on the social media side, you basically had a concentration of platform, which means that right now we all use the same 4 platforms and interact with them. The key reason for that is network effect, obviously. First thing you want to do when you jump on a platform is meet your friends, talk with them, and all your friends are in the same spot, right? So you're going to go there. Second piece is actually lock-in. So there's no easy way for you to import all your pictures from Facebook and put them on Pinterest, right? But this is not a technical issue. This is pure lock-in, right? And lock-in is one of the biggest moats you can have as a platform. Well, hopefully this will be solved in the Web3. We hope with better portability, with the fact that the user owns its data and can give access to it. There's projects like Lens, there's projects like Disco, where obviously in a rich ecosystem, there's other like CyberConnect. Lots of things are being built to solve some of those issues. But anyway, I'm kind of drifting. I'm just saying there were a few platforms on the Web2 side. We think that there's going to be a lot more on the Web3 side. Some of the reasons for that is, well, every time something new creates, there's a financial incentive to be early. That's why you see so many new projects being launched in Web3 all the time. We think that's going to create more worlds, and it already happened. The UI, a website, a web app can be very similar when you think about Twitter, Facebook. But when you think about a game like Minecraft, and you think about a game like FIFA, well, those are very different things. There's no way one world can be everything at once for everyone, so there's going to be kind of a natural fragmentation for it. We saw that level of fragmentation and thought that it was going to increase, and we tried to answer one single question with Lighthouse, which is really what pushed us to build the thing. And this question is, how can I find what is there to do in the metaverse? If you were right now thinking to yourself, sitting at your desk and thinking, okay, I'm going to explore this thing, everyone's talking about the metaverse, let's see what's out there, how would you actually go about it, right? I think the obvious answer is that you would Google it. You'll try to Google, what can I do in the metaverse? And most likely the answers are not going to be great, right? It's going to be hard to find those best places. And that's the premise of Lighthouse. That's what we're actually trying to build. One last piece that's kind of a bit more macro and historical, but we've seen that historical pattern happen with innovation, which is pretty much always the case, and a bunch of people build apps on pretty shaky infrastructure. We've seen that on the play to earn, on the Web3 gaming side, and then one app becomes widely successful. I think that app, it could be on the Web3 side, Axie Affinity. And when you look at everything that they had to build to make the game actually work, you see how much infrastructure was a pain for them. That app could be something else. It could be CryptoKitties and the Dapper kind of ecosystem. There's been a few shifts like that with big apps being created and the infrastructure kind of broke. Another example could even be other side, right? I know there are some challenging reason why they kind of broke Ethereum, and obviously a lot of things could have been avoided. But still, you've basically had an app that was widely successful that showed the limitation of the current infrastructure. And so what happens is once this comes to the realization of everyone, then a bunch of companies like us try to unify and start building some cool infrastructure to help the next generation of app being developed. And what happens then is you build great infrastructure, new apps are built on that great infrastructure, and that better UX is usually what drives mainstream adoption. And in our perspective, we're right at that point where you can focus on the infra, trying to help people build great apps, and hopefully those apps will be so great, so good, that we're going to shift from being our closely tied Web3 ecosystem, native people, and try to onboard new people into the space, which is very important, especially in a bear market. You don't have those financial incentives to drive new folks in, so you need to have great product to keep them in. So yeah, there's going to be an increase in what we call the cross-world infrastructure stack, and Lighthouse falls right into that at the navigation layer, trying to answer that single question, which is, what can I do in the metaverse? And the platform, the way it's built, there's really kind of 3 core components, and you're going to have a small 15-second demo after, so you'll be able to see it. The first part, which is super key, is the search engine. So people come in, they'll be able to type whatever they want to search. Could be super specific, could be abstract. So you could search for the Adidas fashion store. You'll be able to find the parcel specifically inside the sandbox. Or you can type, where are there digital fashion stores across the open metaverse? And then you'll see every parcels or every gallery across many different worlds where you have an experience that fit that description. And then you'll be able to click on one and be teleported in the world. So search is very important. Another thing that we really want to focus on with search is actually making search social. On the internet, when you think about it, browsing is a really solo experience. When you sit at your desk and you search for stuff, you do it on your own. We think that the metaverse will not be information-centric, it will be experience-centric, and the first thing you want to do with experiences is leave them with people. Even if you actually appreciate the experience on your own, you seek and search those experiences as a group. I think this presentation is a great example of that. Many of you came as friends, although you're listening on your own. Searching and finding who you're going to come to the event was actually a social experiment. So what we're trying to do is allow people to search for their friends as well. So if you follow someone and someone follows you, you became friend. And then obviously you could go in dark mode if you wanted to. But if you want your friends to be able to find you, the goal is for them to jump on Lighthouse, that stepping stone to search across world, click, and arrive in the same location as you, based on where you're placed. So that's pretty cool. It's kind of like the social wrapper on Roblox. On Roblox, you have all those UGC experiences. On top of that, you have a search, and then you have a social features, which allow people to kind of enjoy experiences together. The second piece of what we're building, which is actually pretty cool, is creator profiles. So once you search for an experience and you really like it, well, it would be pretty cool to be able to follow the creator that has actually built that experience. And if that creator builds a new thing, you'll be able to see it and jump in them. And as a creator, you'll be able to own and have a direct relationship with your users, which is something that we've lacked very significantly on the Web2 side of social applications. There's also another component to it, which is no one knows an experience as well as the person who created it. And so by allowing creators to create profiles, we'll also empower them to basically define it. Which tags would you put to that experience, which enriches our search engine and actually makes it very accurate, more accurate than what you could find either through API integrations with worlds or on-chain from everything that we could fetch. Having that creator creating that description of the thing is actually quite powerful. And so that's something that we're trying to do, trying to make game designers and experience builders, the YouTubers of the future. I'm convinced 100% that there's going to be some real stars creating experiences that people are going to be able to visit and see and experiment for themselves, and they're going to grow to fame. I'm sure game designers, mark my word, are going to be the next YouTuber. It's the profession that the kids have been doing for the last 5 to 10 years. Now more and more people are paying attention to it. I'm very convinced that this is a category that's going to explode. And so if we want to be a place where they can expose their work, show what they do, build a following, and have a direct relationship with them. And then the last piece, which is super cool as well, is we're going to be the first platform that has data on what people actually like to do. And so we will never allow targeting. This is not something we want to do. We think it's a core shortcoming of the Web2 space. But we have tons of data on what people actually like. And if you're a creator and 80% of the people that follow you actually own a specific type of NFT or search for the same type of things, well, we can make better recommendation, but you as a creator, you can better understand your audience and you can better interact with it. And that's the first time you're going to have metaverse-centric intent and search-related data, which for all the builders in the space is nothing else but a gold mine. And with that level of information, our experiences are going to be better, and we're going to be able to drive people from a closed ecosystem we've been used to towards more open ones. So that's how it looks like. I just click, so you log in on the platform, connect, can see tons of experiences, can search specific or broad. Then you're going to click on the experience you want to join, and then you're going to be transported within that specific parcel. Could be a place, could be near a friend. That's the goal. Make it as easy as possible. Our goal is to be a platform where you come and you jump out as fast as possible. We're not creating content. There's millions of creators that are better than us at creating engaging content. We're just a search and discovery platform. That's what we try to empower. So push people in worlds, make people have fun in the metaverse is where we're trying to play. And yeah, that's just a quote from Sébastien Borger, the co-founder of the Sandbox, who's also one of our investors. He's been a big supporter of Lighthouse from the beginning, which is pretty cool because when you think about it as the #1 metaverse so far, the Sandbox, in terms of brand recognition, corporate engagement they've been able to get, it would have been really easy for them to actually play pretty tightly on being closed, trying to protect that leadership position, but actually he's been super open. If you've been at any metaverse conferences, you've talked to him, you've seen him, he's doing everything he can to promote the open metaverse, interoperability, openness, which I think is great. If we had a different type of leader in the space right now, things could be a lot slower. You had Tim Berners-Lee on the internet side of things that really helped. I think Sébastien, to a certain extent, is trying to push people to play a similar role, which is great. It's aligned with the ethos of Web3, with what drives everyone to a conference like HCC, and we're super happy about it. So this was Lighthouse. This was some thought on the open metaverse. Thanks so much for your attention. Happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.